Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Umair bin Abid and you are watching Umair Linguistics. So, dear viewers, in this video we are going to discuss a phonological process which is known as dissimilation. So, this is the opposite of assimilation. In assimilation, we know two sounds become uh, like each other. So, for example, when we say 10 books, but in connected speech, we used to say, or we tend to say 10 books. Instead of saying 10 books, we change N to M. Uh, N to M because the following sound, the incoming sound is B. So what happens that N becomes M because of the following sound B, which is a bilabial. So M is also bilabial. So instead of saying 10 books, we say 10 books. But what is dissimilation? It is actually the opposite process of dissimilation. And this also happens in connected speech, in fluent speech, and native speakers tend to do this. So, in this video, I'll speak only in English. In other words, what I'll explain that will be completely in English, although I'll give you some examples of other languages as well. But if you want to watch the same version of this video in Urdu, or you can say in Hindi, I have given the link in the description below. So, if you uh, find it difficult to understand my English. So, a process whereby two adjacent or two nearby sounds become less like a nearby sound. So, in other words, uh, if there are two sounds which are quite similar to each other and they are coming together, so they will, so one of those sounds will change. One of those sounds will change to another sound. So what was happening in assimilation that two sounds were becoming like each other. But in dissimilation, two sounds which were similar, but they will become different to each other. Let's have some example and we can see this clearly. So instead of saying fifth, so in fifth, fur and sir, both of these sounds are what we call fricative. All right. So both of these sounds are fricative. But what happens if we try to say this like fifth? Sometimes we find it very difficult if we pronounce it very carefully. So instead of saying fifth, so people tend to say uh, fifth, 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 fifth. So what is happening here? So the th sound has changed to th. So now th has no property to share with f because th is alveolar stop, f is labiodental fricative. So what happens that a sound has become different from the adjacent sound. Similarly, instead of saying sixth, once again these two sounds are fricative. So some people tend to say sixth, and most of the times these things happen in connected speech. Connected speech mean influent speech, and we can't say that no, this is some kind of sloppy speech or this is not a good speech. No, this is very natural, and native speakers tend to do this. And because these things have been observed by phonologists after a lot of research. So now we'll look at some examples of Finnish from another language, Finnish. So in Finnish, sorry, I'm just trying to finding my cursor. So in Finnish, when there are two low back unrounded vowels, a, and they come in adjacent syllables. Now, dissimilation will not only happen when we have sounds just very close to each other or just after each other, but dissimilation can happen if we have the same sound in adjacent syllable. For example, if we have this word in Finnish, this is the root word Marja. So we can say mar and ya. So these are two syllable. So a is occurring in adjacent syllables. But if uh, this sound, if a plural suffix like which is starting from e, if a plural suffix which is starting from e is added to this word, like this is the suffix issa, when this will be added to this word. So what will happen? The second low back unrounded vowel a will change to o. All right. So this is also an example of dissimilation. So this is not kind of uh, dissimilation which we saw in the case of English, where two sounds were just uh, you can say binded with each other. Two sounds were just preceding and following. One sound was following and the other sound was preceding. But in this case, the dissimilation has occurred in two adjacent syllables. So Maria has become Mario Issa when a suffix has been added. So in the berries, so these are the meaning in English. So Mario Ista from the berries. So if another type of suffix is added, like here in the case from the berries, so there is also a preposition. So even in this case, so what we can see when e is following like a plural suffix which is starting from e is following, so dissimilation occurs and a low back unrounded vowel which was also in the adjacent syllable will become o. Similar in sana, which means word, so it becomes sanu issa, sanu ista from the words. All right. So I hope you have understood what I am trying to say. So this is also an example of dissimilation. Here the same sounds are occurring in adjacent syllable. So what is the reason why dissimilation occurs or all kind of phonological processes occur? So the main reason is that phonological systems act in a way that increase the perceptual distinctness of some sounds as compared to other. So it's very natural. It's very natural that when we speak, we tend to give uh, some sounds more prominence as compared to the other. All right, we tend to make some sounds more prominent than the other. So this is the reason, perceptual distinctness. So in this way, what will happen? And we don't know that sometimes, and definitely we don't know we are doing these processes in our first language or in our native language or in any fluent language, but that tends to happen naturally. That for example, just if someone say Maria Issa, so it might not be perceptual. Or for example, just think is instead of saying fifth and instead of saying fifth, which is more prominent. So this will distinct. So therefore, these things tend to happen naturally. So this is the reason behind any such kind of phonological process or most of the phonological process. Sometimes the reasons are quite phonetic, uh, purely phonetics, and sometimes purely phonological. And these are the three books for reference. So I hope you have understood it. Don't forget to give your feedback. Remember to press circle of